Hello and welcome to Are You a Weezer Fan? As always, I'm John, here with Bill.
This podcast died when Matt Sharp left the band.
The show that brings you the chronological story of Weezer history, music, and lore. Bill, what are we doing today?
John, I can't believe it, but we have a very special interview episode.
Yeah, very special episode of the show today we got for you.
I mean, you've seen the title of this if you clicked on it. We are interviewing Sean Murphy. If the name does not ring a bell, that is essentially Weezer's photographer.
I mean, not Carl Cook, but Weezer's photographer for 20 plus years. He's worked with the band all the way from back Green Album promotional stuff, all the way through Van Weezer. So
yeah, if you have a crazy good memory, you would have heard us mention his name as doing the covers for Make Believe, Red, the inside booklet shots for Ratitude and Well, we're not at Van Weezer yet. We're not there yet.
Not quite there. No. But he did the White Album. He did the back cover of Maladroit and the inside sleeve of that. So he's been around for a lot of stuff.
And he took time out of his day to talk to us and to you guys. You guys get to hear it. I hope you like the questions we asked. This is our first interview. Give us feedback if you'd like.
Yeah, and also bear with us because, first interview, first time we're doing anything like this content-wise as well as tech-wise.
I think we did pretty good.
I think we did pretty damn good. There's going to be a couple moments with some audio slapback. Bear with it.
Yeah, it was either
you just skip ahead 10 seconds, but
yeah, that was either a rough connection on Sean's end or our end. But every once in a while, it hits a double thing. It stops pretty quickly, I promise.
Yeah, but I think we did a pretty good job with it. I had a hell of a lot of fun. We hope Sean had a hell of a lot of fun. We hope you guys have a lot of fun listening to it as well.
There are roughly hundreds of you that listen to every episode. I'm honest with the numbers here.
That's true.
I'm talking right to them. If one of you goes out and pre-orders this book or buys this book, I think that will make it worth Sean's time for doing some promotion and talking with us. You listening, go pre-order this book. Go buy it for a Christmas present. My Friend Weezer is available.
Visual time capsule of one of rock's most iconic bands. It's going to be available as of now, November 16th.
Pre-orders are up.
Pre-orders are up. So get to that immediately.
Get it for a Christmas present for your Weezer-loving friends. Get it for a present for yourself. You've earned
it. Bill, I don't think we got anything else, so I think we just hop into the show, right?
Let's roll it, man.
All right, let's do this shit.
All right, everybody. Today we welcome a truly incredible guest, photographer, videographer, New England School of Photography valedictorian, director of national commercials, music videos, countless photo shoots, alternative press covers, award-winning ad campaigns, and for our purposes today, creator of the upcoming book, My Friend Weezer, a visual time capsule of one of rock's most iconic bands. Welcome, Sean Murphy, to the podcast. Hey, Sean, how's it going?
How's it going? That guy sounds cool.
He is, man. That's you. That's you.
I want to meet that guy. Can you guys write my LinkedIn bio?
Yeah, anytime, man.
You got it. You've done a lot, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Where are you guys from? The Midwest somewhere?
We're Denver, Colorado.
Oh, okay, gotcha. I missed that. Yep.
And you're in Florida, correct?
Yeah, I moved to the Panhandle of Florida now. So I was in Los Angeles for most of my life, but my kids graduated high school and I left them. I was like, showed up with money and at graduation at U-Haul. I said, peace out. I left. So,
I know that. Yeah. That's exactly what my parents did too. They're down in Florida. They're like, all right, everybody's out of school. Peace.
Yep, we're leaving to Central Florida.
I lived there I lived there in the late '80s, and that was a weird time. But yeah, I'm near Pensacola, right by the beach.
Okay.
And it's amazing. People are nice. Weather's good. And I can afford to live in a cool space. without
Right.
paying gazillions of dollars that I didn't have in Los Angeles. So it's good.
Definitely. Bit slower pace than LA too, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's different. It's very different. But I grew up in this town, so I know about it. You know what I mean? It's not like I came in blind. So it's all
Definitely.
good.
I mean, that always helps. All right. Well, we do want to dive into a lot of your career, but
Okay.
again, for our purposes, we're gonna do some Weezer talk real quick. But so like you've worked with so many bands like Tenacious D, Rage Against the Machine, Queens of the Stone Age. Why Weezer for a whole book? Your first book, I believe, right?
So I mean, technically, I've done 3 books, but none that have been published by like a real publishing company.
Okay. So you have
So
some experience putting one together.
yeah. So I've done a book in the outdoor space. I work in the surfing industry quite a bit, and I have a book
Mhm.
that's in that world, and then I have another one with a hot rod documentary guy that I worked with in California for about 10 years named Ed Iskandarian. I think he's
Oh, nice.
105 now. But yeah, Weezer, because I worked with Weezer for so long, 25 years and counting, uh, just built up such a library, and I'm still friends with those guys. I talk to them all the time. Talking to them yesterday. So, uh,
Nice.
it just made sense. And Brian suggested, like, a couple of years ago, he's like, when are we doing a coffee table book? And I was like,
Oh, nice.
I just never really thought about it. It just seemed so daunting to make a book, and like, what does that look like? And
Right.
the beginning days, my first shoot was in 2000. So it's all negatives until 2005, and then it's digital. So how do I do that shit? And so it took a minute, and it actually took about 3 years of nonstop work to get it done. So,
Little bit more than a minute. So
oh my
yeah.
God, it was crazy. I don't think I'll ever do that again, honestly, but who knows?
I was listening to an interview with you from forever ago, maybe 2019, but you were talking about like I think at the time maybe doing a different book with like some other artists. I don't remember the details for sure, but like do things like that just not always come through, and just working with like one band, like just working with Weezer makes it doable and easier?
Yeah, so I think the hardest part is legal stuff, right? So it's like
Yeah.
Right.
I own the photos, I guess, technically when I shoot them, but then there's as soon as the big thing with the Weezer book, which I think is it ended really cool, but in the beginning it had all the cover art and the albums and all the things that I had done that have been published. And then the lawyers were like, yeah, you're kind of like at a high level for getting sued right now by maybe someone who was part of that art thing. So I took
Right.
all that down and replaced it with just images that were from that shoot that weren't the exact thing, which I think is cooler. Because if you're a Weezer fan, you're gonna want to see more than the shit you've already seen, I guess. So
Yeah.
Yep.
yeah.
And it's interesting. I'm really excited for kind of that aspect of the book because as Weezer fans, you already get a ton of background stuff from Carl. One of the few bands that probably has their own historian, documentarian, kind of their own behind the scenes guy already. So it's going to be kind of fun to get like a different take on like a different angle of behind the scenes. And kind of like with that, how has it been, what's it like working on a shoot with Weezer with Carl there? Are there other bands that you've worked with that have had that kind of guy? Like, does he work with you? Has he ever worked like against you in some shoots? Has it ever been contentious,
No, man, Carl has become a very good friend of mine. That's who I was talking with yesterday. I'm helping him with some
Okay.
mic setups and different interviews type things he's working on because they're working on something new right now, and there's some cool things about their recordings that they're doing that Carl is part of, and I can't talk too much about it, but it's interesting. And Carl is like the nicest guy. Have you ever talked to him?
No, we have not gotten to chat with him, but he's the honest to God hero of our show. If we didn't have his 30 years of behind the scenes writings and all that stuff, we would not be able to make, what's been 50 plus episodes of the show at this point.
Yeah, so back to your question, in the beginning days, he wasn't at every shoot, but every
Mhm.
other shoot he would be there, and he's kind of just like a fly on the wall. He doesn't really inject too much, I guess, but he always had some sort of kooky camera, like I don't know. To me, it was like something kind of hipstery, that just was like different than I would be using, and he was just capturing stuff, and I didn't really know what his role was. He was just around, right? So
Hmm.
Yeah.
and and then as the years got went on, I think recently when the book started, he and I really started becoming close.
Hmm.
And I asked him, I said, "Hey man, can you?" He's super supportive of the book, and I asked him for behind the scenes photos that I had never seen. He sent me this folder of photos, and I was like, "Holy shit, man!" Like it was like sentiment. It was like almost made me cry because I was looking at me, like I looked like
Yes.
a kid. I was a kid, you know what I mean? I was like had no tattoos.
Yeah,
I,
25 years ago or
yeah,
whatever.
it was wild, and just he has it from pretty much the beginning shoots to now. I mean, I was just in Ireland with them last summer. I got married in Ireland, but they were playing in Ireland, so like I
Oh, no shit.
walked around Dublin, giving Brian. He's coming into himself as a photographer himself. He's learning film, and so walking around the city with him and Scott, and hanging out with Carl, and then I went to Montreal on a trip in December and came down to Carl's house. He lives in Buffalo. Went to his house. I'd never been there, and he gave me, so I really felt like the book needed a spotlight on Carl. Like he's such an important to me. He's Weezer. I think he's just such an
Ooh, I
integral
love
part.
that.
I
Yeah.
think because he's been there since before the band, right? If I'm not mistaken, like he was kind of
Yeah.
there before the band was formed. So and when I tell you, maybe I have a picture. I don't. There's some pages of the book, but I don't know if I have. Maybe there's a picture of Carl in the. I don't know. I don't have it. But I mean, there's like little pictures of like of him shooting like behind the scenes of me
Oh,
and doing
nice.
stuff.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
and the cool thing, and in the book, like Brian's sister does all these doodles on every page.
Oh, awesome.
They're so cool, man. A writer just took the book from me because she was doing a story,
Yeah.
and so I let her borrow the book. So I wish I had it to show you, but I have like a test copy that they sent so I could approve the paper quality and all
Right,
that
right, right,
shit.
right.
Yep.
But so I went to Carl's house, and I don't know if you've ever seen pictures of his place or not. Is that something you know about?
I don't
So
think we have
I don't
actually.
think so.
No.
he has this big house in Buffalo,
Mhm.
and it's very big, and he has a basement that you go down. And when I tell you the basement is like 1,000 square, it's big with
Yeah.
Okay.
tall ceilings, and he's got it looks like a library, like a real library, but instead of books, it's albums. So he has. I have to ask him. He thousands and thousands and thousands of albums, and he's very. I don't know if OCD is the right word, but very particular and detail oriented. So everything is
Hmm.
categorized like a certain way. And then he has all his Weezer stuff since the beginning of days is so organized in these file cabinets with dates and times and audio files and pictures and flyers and sketches. I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? A book, motherfucker? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
my shit,
Exactly.
my shit is like just a taste, you know. His is the book. I told him yesterday. I said, dude, if you're not making a fucking book, like, get started right now. While we're getting old, dude. We're all in our 50s and
Right.
shit. It's like
Yep.
we're gonna die soon. Like, get this book done, dude. So
Well, I feel like you have to look at it the same way we do too, because it's like, yeah, there is really no point in recovering Weezer's history. It's covered. Carl did it,
Yeah.
but it's so much you need to make it digestible, you know? And I feel like that's what we try to do, just covering the history of what we're like, here's what happened here, and here's the
Yeah.
important parts.
I love
Carl
that.
will tell you everything that happened in the day this is what you want to know.
Do you guys?
Yeah,
Do you guys
crazy.
Do you guys talk to him at all, like on email or anything like that, ever?
Not yet. After reaching out to you, though, I feel like anything's possible.
Yeah. No,
I think that's easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we've just been a super small, at-home kind of passion project thing. So, you were the first Weezer adjacent Weezer story member we've been able to chat with.
Hey, I got to chat with some video directors.
Okay,
it really is impressive nowadays how you can, like you were saying, you can just reach out to people, and if they feel like it, they'll talk to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I was in photography school, not to go too off track, but like I remember I had an assignment. We had to like call a famous photographer, and it could be anyone, and we had to interview them and ask them questions and shit. This was early '90s, before cell phones or anything, and I remember mine was Steven Meisel, who did like the Madonna. You guys are too young probably to know who he is. He's a big fashion guy. He did like Madonna's books and all. He's a giant New York like.
Oh, like the Madonna's sex book.
Yeah,
that one.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
So he did all that shit, and he wouldn't talk to me. And I even had like I had ins with him and shit. Like my ex-girlfriend was a modeling agent and knew him, and so and even at that, like the motherfucker wouldn't talk to me. And then another girl that was in my school reached out to Harry Benson, who is one of the most famous photographers on the planet that used to shoot, the Beatles and of that generation, right. Older than like probably like my mom's age or something. And they became friends, and that dude flew from England to talk at our graduation. So it's like,
jeez.
It's like, yeah, you're right. It's like, you never know. Like I just call me or reach out and I'll call them back. So because of that dick, Steven Meisel, I'm like, I will never do that. If I ever become somebody, I'm never going to like, this is the exciting shit, right? Like someone wants to talk to me about some shit that I did. Let's do that. That sounds fun. So
I love it.
Here I am. So Carl would be an easy guy for you. He's the nicest guy, dude. I mean, he is the coolest, nicest guy I've ever met. And I asked him, he did the forward to the book. He designed.
Yeah, I read that.
And he compared me to Spike Jonze, which is my favorite, favorite director.
High compliment.
Yeah. To me, that was like, oh my God, like that's the coolest part of the book to me. It's like, putting me in the same sentence with Spike Jonze was insane, and he also he designed a really cool flyer in the book, like an old band flyer that was potentially going to be the cover, but it ended up not being the cover because we ended up going with a photograph because that's what the publisher suggested. So we ended up putting that in the front of the book, and then the forward, and then all his behind the scenes. I mean, Carl is like, without him, the book would be way less fluffy.
Not 250 whatever pages.
Yeah, dude, and we chopped 100 pages out easy. And then Frank Zappa, his son Amit, is a very good friend of mine, and he did all the interviews of me on all the stories for the shoot. So
cool.
So in the very beginning of the book, like we were talking about, like how do you get that book done? Well, I had a kid scanning in my negative room. If I had a phone, I would walk you in there and show you. It's insane. It's like it's like this giant library of just organized negatives, and he sat in there for like a year just scanning. And so then I would print out these 4x6. I just did a giveaway where I gave away a lot of the pictures, but they're little 4x6. Just pictures of all the possibilities that could go in the book. And then I put these giant faux walls up all around my studio, and then just put them in chronological order, like first UFO shoot, the Mikey era, Make Believe, Maladroit, all the albums.
Yeah.
And then editorial things mixed between, and then behind the scenes, whatever. And then I had them strewn across the studio for like 6 months on these giant foam core 4x8 boards, probably like 20 of them, all pinned up, right? And then I had these big tables, and then I would walk around, eating a snack throughout the day, take a break, and I would look at them, and I would take stuff off that was like filler, and I kind of got it narrowed down and down.
Mm-hmm.
And then went to each grouping, and I put little red sticky notes on like key images, and I would meet with Amit Zappa on Zoom calls, and I would send him those photos on a text, and he would ask me about the photos in his way. He's super funny. I don't know if you are familiar with him, but he's a freaking genius and the funniest guy. He's got a podcast on every Friday night called Rock Tales, and I highly recommend it.
Nice.
It's live and it's interactive. And it's very, very cool. He interviews a lot of really, really rad musicians. But he would interview me, and then I would keep the audio file, and then just kind of put that in a folder. And then over like a period of like 6 months or so, we had gone through the entire thing, the entire Weezer, catalog. And then from there, then there's a lot of other stuff you guys probably aren't interested in, which is like, how do I fucking, now what? Like,
right.
dude,
How do you actually make a book? I imagine is the next step.
What do I do? Like, who does it? Like, I need help. And then I ended up, Amit was going to help me with some publishers, but those kind of fell through. And I ended up meeting this writer that lives in my area. That's this famous fictional romance novelist. And she's with Simon and Schuster, and she also has her own publishing company, Page and Vine.
Nice.
And she brought my book up to New York to Simon and Schuster, and they were like, "Yeah, we want to distribute that book." And they wrote up a proposal deal, and I agreed to it because I don't give a shit. I was like, man, I don't care how much money I have to give up. I'm not doing this for money anyway. I just want to do something that's like a legacy piece honestly, I did it for the fans, because the fans, for their fan stuff, like whatever. And so I originally did a blog post. I don't know if you guys saw it. It was probably several years ago.
Yeah, on the one that's on your website.
Like Decades of Weezer or something.
Yeah,
and I did it.
yeah.
And I was like, here's for you guys. Everyone can have what you want. Just take it, use it. And so the book is kind of, there you go.
This is our number one source of photo resource.
Well, it was until we hit teal, and now and that's when your photos kind of end.
We got to the end of the chronology of the blog post, so we've had to source our Instagram photos from elsewhere.
Well, maybe I'll send you guys a little present. Maybe I'll send you a little Dropbox link with some new nugs in it.
That would be tasty.
The last time I shot them was in Ireland, I think. Ireland, nice. And then Carl. So it's been about a year, but we're in. I hope I'll see them soon and do some more current stuff. But
hell yeah, that's awesome.
So anyway, the fans weren't kind of in mind, and that was the most stressful thing for me, is making sure when I wrote this book. The thing I like about it that has been pointed out to me is, like, even if you're not a Weezer fan, you might be a photography fan or just a fan of art or whatever. It has a lot of great talk about how we did each shot and these cool old school techniques, camera wise or film wise, or how we put together came up with the concepts, which honestly I think people put more weight on certain pictures, like, oh my God, like, how did you come up with that? And I'm like, well, unfortunately, the real idea was over here, and then that just fucking happened, and I just went like this, and that happened, and I got lucky, right place, right time, and we kind of set it up for success, but it wasn't where we started off with it. So
well, kind of speaking about that, so like the your first shoot with Weezer was the Space Odyssey one for Alternative Press.
Yes.
And like they kind of pitched that idea to you, is what it sounds like, and then you worked with the tinfoil and cardboard that you could get. With like the bigger concepts too, like do you get to come up with, let's put Weezer in a boxing ring, or we're gonna go ride BMX bikes down the river today? Like, do you get to have those choices sometimes, or are you usually presented with ideas?
And like, which one's more fun? Like, if a magazine says do this, and you kind of have to work within their constraints, or if you're given kind of free reign to do what you want.
That's a great question. For this magazine, it's alternative press. So I had a really good relationship with the creative director Norman Wenderly, who would call me, and usually it would be like do whatever you want. More
Mhm.
times than not, they would give me a great band to shoot, and I would just go and do what I want. But in this case, for this shoot, it was they said every photographer had to use 2001 Space Odyssey as a reference for whatever you can take that and do whatever you want
However you want. Yeah. Okay.
with that concept. So on this particular shoot, I won't go into sobriety, but in this day and age, I was drinking beers a lot. So I was also a bad student, and I would always do things last minute. And I remember
Yeah.
my assistant and I were drinking Coronas, and I think the shoot was like in the afternoon. It was the morning, and we're like, "Fuck, what are we gonna do?" And we just came up with this. I was watching that show, Kids in the Hall, which is
Oh yeah.
Yep,
A
yep.
Canadian skit show, and they had this skit where they would say I'm crushing your head, and they would use their fingers like this, and they would squeeze people from across the street with the scale, the scale of their fingers close up to the
Right.
camera, so it looked like they're squishing people. And I was like, man, we could do something like with a UFO where we make it out of cardboard, and with a wide angle lens, it would give it the illusion that it was bigger or something. So we kind of went with that, and I called my stylist, and she was working on the shoot, and she's dropped by Home Depot on the way over and grabbed a bunch of tinfoil and air conditioned stuff, and that's how it was, and they showed up, and I talk about this, probably you probably have heard this story, but my first interaction with Weezer was they walked in my front door, and Rivers was in front, and the rest of the band was kind of in back, and they didn't know what we were going to shoot. And I
Yeah.
was like,
Mhm.
so I was like, "Hey guys," and I didn't know them, so I'm doing my pitch, like, so here's what I'm thinking: we're gonna like do this cardboard thing, and we're gonna do blah, and I don't remember what I said, but I was describing the shoot to them, and Rivers was just like looking at me with zero expression. And I was like, "Fuck, man, this is gonna suck. Like this is gonna be a rough shoot." And he just was like, okay. And the rest of the guys, what they all have such different personalities, but Mikey was just bouncing in the back, like distracted. And Brian's, he's more into like his look and fashion. And then Pat is a gearhead, and he saw that I had a hot rod out front. And so we connected on that. So we all kind of got to connect fairly quickly on things. And then what I noticed from the first shoot, when Rivers is a man of few words. I mean, you know that, everybody
Yeah.
knows
Oh yeah.
that, but he sits there, and it's never changed. It's always been this way. He sits down, you dress him in whatever thing you need him to dress in. He doesn't say much, and then he gets into character, and he is that thing. So whatever that character is, and he becomes that character. And I think, or I don't think, I know. So that we shot that, and it was a success, and they obviously enjoyed my shooting and my personality, because then I got another call. Well, it was alternative press again, and then we met up at this studio downtown. That's where the bus almost killed them, and
Yeah.
and we did a bunch of stuff, and that was really fun. And then they called me for an album cover, so I knew that like they're asking for me to do
Yep.
shoots, and I think they liked that I would have come with like all these ideas, and I was very prepared. So even a shoot like this, I would show up generally always, and I still do today. I'll Whether it's I'm getting paid nothing or I'm getting paid a lot of money, I will come up with a concept, and then I will go and do like pre-scout days up leading up to the shoot, and I will do like like if I'm shooting down in Hollywood, I would say, okay, they're going to be at this studio, and then I would literally walk around that studio within like a four block radius, imagining like, well, the guys can walk this far for a shot, and I would
Yeah.
find nooks and crannies and have backup plans. So then we could just go on a walk, and it appeared as though I was a genius. Like, wow, like he just knows all these great places are just showing up. But in fact, I'd already had these planned out. Now that one there, the hairdressing one,
Mhm.
that was not planned, and it was literally like a thrift store slash hair salon off of Hollywood Boulevard that was closed, but there was somebody in there, And I was like, knocked on the door, and I was like, and the girl was like, "What the fuck?" And I was like, I got Weezer. Can we like come in for a second? She's like, "Yeah, come on in." And we just went in, and they had this like bullshit set up in the corner, and they just grabbed clothes, and that just happened like within like
that's
5 minutes.
amazing.
So good.
So that's one of my all-time favorite photos.
I mean, so there's so many good ones, even from just the very short time that Mikey was around, and he seems to just have so much personality in all of these shots. Which one? Yeah, this one where he's crying reading the nudie mag has always been one of my favorites. But I did want to ask, like, between Scott and then Mikey, or Mikey and then moving on to Scott, because rumor has it, and like Weezer lore, Scott didn't know that he was like a full-time member of the band instead of just a fill-in until he got invited to the Maladroit photo shoot. So that would have been one that you were a part of. So like, what was the difference between Scott and Mikey as subjects, and like how was the band different with the two of them as the basis?
Great question. So, Mike, I love this picture. This is in the book, and I had to. And so, a quick side note: Brian's sister, Leah, she lives in your area. She's in, where are you guys? Denver?
Yeah, just east of Denver.
Okay, she lives in Denver. Brian's sister does, and she's an amazing artist, graphic designer. And so she did all, like I said, did all the artwork in the book, and the label, the manager's like, yeah, we can't have the word porn in the book. And there was, and I didn't think about that. I was like, yeah, that probably makes sense, because it just isn't probably like, they're Weezer's kind of they're for everybody.
Family friendly.
So Brian's sister went in and drew like cartoons over these magazines, and did these kind of these funny like cartoon ways of saying they're porn magazines. And this was this was a bad one too. We went in there, and I remember I went and bought all these like black hardcore porn magazines because I thought they were funny. And I gave them to the guys. They were just like, fuck it. But Mikey was, to me, he was like textbook Weezer vibes, like he's put the fur coat lining, and he just looked like a nerd hipster kind of, and he definitely had the most personality. He was just very likable, and there's nothing negative to say about him. I don't know. There was some time between shoots for me. Sometimes they were back to back, and then sometimes it generally was like every year. So they would do an album, and then I'd like, I bet that's the last fucking album they're gonna call me for. I just always thought this was the last one since the beginning. And then a year later, my agent would call me and go, "Got another Weezer job." I was like, "Yes!"
Hell yeah!
And so Mikey. So there was a shoot for, I don't remember which magazine. It's in here. There's a shot of the band on a roof, on the roof of.
I think the roof one's further
one's up.
Go down.
No, these are basketball. Yeah.
Other way. So keep going.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about. There.
Yes.
So there you go. So that was my first shoot with Scott, and that was for I don't remember, Stuff magazine or FHM or Rolling Stone. I can't remember. I don't think it was AP though. And Scott showed up, and he happened to be very good friends with my assistant, and my assistant's twin brother was in the band Orgy, which was a big band in the 90s, and he was the drummer, Bobby Hewitt, and his brother Fab is my assistant at the time. Still works with me, and just bought a house down the street, and we've been friends for 30 years. It's amazing.
Awesome.
So so Scott showed up, and he's like, oh, and Fab was there, and Fab was like, oh my God, Scott, what's up, dude? And Scott was from a metal background, so he was a metal guy. And as I heard it, and I should ask Scott, because he's a very close friend of mine. I talk to him all the time, and I never asked him this, but I think Mikey got kicked out of the band for personal reasons, and he was doing things he shouldn't be doing. And then I think Rivers put out an APB for somebody that would be unexpected for Weezer. Like,
oh yeah, I forget the exact
Yeah,
quote.
specifically asked for like a non-Weezer bassist, like the grossest,
exactly.
nastiest motherfucker
the
you got.
baddest, yeah.
Yeah, and then when I was at Carl's and Carl was showing me pictures of Rivers and giving me the Rivers history before Weezer, Rivers was in metal bands. So
Yeah.
Yep.
it checked, you know. I was like, oh, that makes sense. Like, I bet his background, like, you know. And so Scott comes in. Scott's the nicest guy. Scott is from Ohio and a metal guy, and just kind of didn't visually. He was like the one that didn't fit, but he fit. If that makes sense.
Right.
Like
he's
it was
not the
different,
nerd, but
yeah, it worked. And so he showed up at the shoot, and I don't know if what you're saying is true. It sounds like it could be, right? Like, maybe they were trying him out, you know. Maybe they were, you know, he was on an audition and playing some shows, and before he got permanently put on the team. But I remember that shoot, and it was Scott. You can tell was, you know, you're coming into a band that's been around for a long time, and you're the new guy. You don't want to come in too hot, so you're kind of trying to figure out your place in the pack. And I think Scott, I'm closest with Scott and Brian. They're the guys I talk to all the time, and Scott, he has class and he knows how to do things, and he's such a nice guy, and he just did it. I could tell he was fitting in nicely, and he wasn't too big of a personality, because you don't want someone to come in that's too big. Just my
Yep.
opinion, you know. And he kind of fell in line with when you're shooting. When I'm shooting, Rivers goes into character and he's doing what he's doing. I don't have to give him much direction. And then Pat has 5 things that he does. He'll go like this, or like this, or like that. He has
He's got
like
his
3 or 4
poses.
things. He's got his poses down. And Brian is very fashion sense, and he has some things he does. But Scott would kind of he just kind of stands there like a metal guy, you know.
Yeah.
But you know, so that's kind of how that all works. And is one better than the other? I don't think any. I wouldn't even know. They're just different. It's like a whole different. And the dynamic between the band, I didn't know the band well enough in the Mikey era to judge that. They all seemed to really get along, because I wasn't privy to the inner workings of the band at that point in time. And
Right.
even today, and Carl's pointed out to me, which I think is a very classy way for a band to be. The band, from my understanding, doesn't. I think as a rule, they don't talk about each other's personal lives within the band. When they're there to work, they have fun and they make songs, but they don't have drama with personal stuff. So I think that's cool.
Yeah, to stay a band for this long, like, you need to not get into each other's shit. Otherwise it's gonna implode, right?
Yeah, leave it at the door. Just have fun in the studio.
Exactly.
Well, speaking of like giving them directions and stuff, so you did the Red album cover shoot. There's a story, and I don't know if you were the one that did this direction, but somebody said, like, go dress up into your alter egos, and that's kind of what came out as the cover. Were you the one that gave that instruction, or was that someone else on set, or do you remember that at all?
So the way that that's my favorite shot, them on the wall, that one there. So the way every shoot went down, most every shoot, the only shoot where I got brought in and they said this is what we're doing is Teal.
Okay.
Yeah.
That one's pretty straightforward with what we're gonna do.
Yeah, they called me, and I was in Greece at the time, and the manager called me and said, "We got an album on Monday." It was like fucking Friday, and I'm like on an island somewhere, and I was like, and they go, "Yeah, we got a Weezer cover shoot on Monday or Tuesday," and I was like, "Fuck." I said, "I'm in Greece," and he goes, "That's cool, I'll shoot it." Like, this guy at the label's like, I'll shoot it, because he's also a photographer. I was like, the fuck you will.
Hell yeah.
I made it happen, dude. I got home and made that
first
shit happen.
plane.
That was the only one. They said, this is what the concept is, and so, but the other shoots, they may have a concept like this is the white album or this is the red album, but the picture on the cover wasn't. It was up for grabs depending, or maybe it wasn't a picture at all sometimes. So I would come I would come prepared with a pre-meeting, generally with Rivers, maybe someone else in the band, but generally just Rivers and his assistant. I have a big album collection that I love to use as reference for, I don't know, tones or ideas or composition or lighting. I'll kind of fling through and just kind of get the ideas flowing. And I would make copies of maybe how to describe it better. I would say, okay, this theme is going to be like you guys are going to be like a fucking gang. That kind of became the theme for every shoot. Honestly, we tried to figure out ways to create them in different gang structure,
Mhm.
like the movie The Warriors,
Oh
where
yeah.
they're like, and that was what I did in the downtown river, or the boxing thing. That was, those are all ideas I just came up with and pitched it, and then Rivers would always just go, "Yeah, that sounds great. Let's do that." He never would say, he's such a cool guy, and I was always I don't know why I was always so fucking nervous with him, but I really want to impress him like a dad or something. Like I really want to show him my ideas in him because I think he is a genius and just such a creative guy. I want him to be. I want his approval, right? But
Yeah. I mean,
but
I think
he
we've seen it in other interviews where like Rivers' energy like doesn't bounce the way you want it to, and then it makes you nervous too. Like we've seen it with a bunch of people that talk with him on interviews and things.
Yeah, where it's
it,
like it's just like a way that he is talking. It's just like, man, like I really want just a little bit more enthusiasm, so I know that I'm good.
Yeah, but you're not gonna get it.
yeah, and so to your point, like I had a process that I'd go through, and I'd kind of have these, like almost like you're in an advertising agency. I'm trying to pitch to a client, and I go, and here I'm thinking the tones of this shoot will be, and I would have like for each shoot there'd be a general color palette, and I would have them as the inspiration would be the Warriors gang shit or boxing or soccer team or kids on a BMX bikes, whatever the fucking thing is. And then the stylist would come in, whoever was the stylist on the show. More than likely it was this lady House. Her name was Houston, and she worked with me up until a certain point, and then they started hiring somebody else. But we would work together on that, on like what does the clothes look like, and how are we doing all that, and then I would scout everything, and when they showed up, I'd have it all ready to go. Like the moped shot, like on
Oh
that
yeah, yeah.
on that shoot, it was like we're gonna do polo. Brian had a friend that was a polo rider, so we've got polo outfits, and Rick Rubin owned a bunch of mopeds, so he lived in Malibu, and fucking
That sounds like Rick.
Yeah, that does sound like
I
Rick.
didn't get to meet him, but we were shooting in Malibu, and Carl or somebody was like, "Yeah, Rick's down the street, and he's got mopeds." And I'm like, "Fucking Rick Rubin, I want to meet that dude," but I didn't get to meet him. The polo
Oh,
shots those were shot at Rivers' house in his backyard in Malibu at the time, and he had such a big, weird backyard. I was like, "No, it kind of looks like a polo field, like a
Yeah,
horse."
just the open lawn. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And then I got the little horses, and I did the scale thing again. I was like, I use that a lot because the kids in the hall. I was like, fucking. Once I learned that, I was like, I can make a horse out of a little horse. Just put it real close.
One day watching TV.
Yeah, totally.
Not that it's a world that I'm very well versed in, but in some of the interviews you mentioned like some of your like big influences growing up, like Annie Leibovitz and Joel Peter Whitkin come to mind with like some of your black and white photos, and then like Joel Peter Whitkin and Richard Avedon for like some of the surreal stuff you kind of do. Like I think of the long pants shoot with Brian. And like, it's just like, how does some of your early influences, like, how do you even translate that to bands and music. Like, how did your style evolve, and how did you end up working with musicians and using it that way? Because a lot of the people you quote as influences, you know, they're doing like, I guess, studio shots, but like, how did you come and take that into the music world?
Yeah, that's a great question. So Annie Leibovitz was, oh, there's my ex-wife. Let's skip past that one.
Scrolling, scrolling,
Scrolling.
scrolling.
So Annie Leibovitz, when I was just starting out, I mean, she's still relevant, really. But she shot bands. I remember watching all her stuff and that she would shoot for Rolling Stone and all the music magazines or in Celebrity, Vanity Fair, whatever. And she would shoot celebrities like these the biggest people in the world, but she would somehow get them to. I guess the term is character portrait, right? Like it's
Yeah.
like Francis Bacon or a painter painting a picture of somebody, but they look not like themselves, and it's a portrait that's made up of like what they're about internally, I guess. So I guess if that makes sense. So
Yeah. And
Annie Leibovitz would get like Mick Fleetwood of Fleetwood Mac, and I remember seeing a picture of him in a field in a woman's dress with some flowers and some stuff, and or she would take, you know, Jack Nicholson and have him do, and it was just like, how the fuck is she getting these people that are
to
these
do
people to
this.
do this shit? Like it's
Yeah.
insane. And it like it's better because I just get fucking bored of like sometimes you need a picture of like the Ramones against a brick wall because that's what the best shot is. That you can't beat that. It's classic,
Yeah.
and
Right.
it's hard and it's punk rock. But then to get them to do something vulnerable in this artistic way, where to me, because I came from a painting and sculpture background in the beginning before I was a photographer, I was like, wow, that's cool. You can kind of mix the things, right? Like you can kind of make it, you can do anything if you kind of think in that way. And I had this photography teacher in junior college, and he told me, which he was responsible for my whole career, and he said to me, because I had a sculpture class next to the darkroom class and a painting class. So I was kind of going between the two. And he's like, Sean, anything you can imagine in your mind, anything you can do on a sheet of film, piece of film, in your camera or outside your camera. You can rub Vaseline on the lens. You can dress people up. You can do
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
multiple exposure. You can do shit in the darkroom. And I was like, my mind was fucking blown. And then I was looking at this dude, Joel Peter Wicken. At the time I was in my goth phase, which I'm still in my goth phase,
Yeah.
but
I can see that from his. I
but
noticed
but
like he does a lot of like long exposure, blurry faces, and I noticed that in
yeah,
a lot of yours with
super,
Weezer for sure.
yeah, super dark. He's super dark, and he used to get like dead bodies from. He had a friend that worked at a morgue. I don't know how the fuck this shit was even legal, but
I've heard
he
this.
would
Yeah.
get dead bodies and like put them on a seamless and shit, and like it was he was the Francis Bacon of photography, and he was some, you know, if you can compare the two, they kind of similar. And then Richard Avedon, probably, I don't know who's my favorite, but Richard Avedon did just amazing classic uh, black and white just portraits. It, it just with perfect composition, very detailed with large format, and there's to me with like the eyes were so clear and the lighting was so good. But he used a lot of natural light outside and different. And I was like, God damn, it looks so fucking good. I still shoot like him today. If ever I'm struggling, I always bring, because of him. Even today, I'll bring like plain backdrops and I'll have them in my truck and I'll bust them out in the open shade outside, do a portrait of whoever I'm shooting, and more
That's
times than not,
awesome.
those are always the best. So those are kind of my inspirations. But there's many
I,
more. You know, there's many more inspirations, and but also Weezer was my inspiration, right? Because you take your subject and they have a personality, and so they're adding to the thing too, right? So, but the best thing about Weezer, and probably the best example, there's a shot in here, um, it's like an 80s shot. I think it's a Red Album, and they're wearing like splattered clothing. I think it's this shoot. Maybe it's down a little bit more. There's where Carl got his head. There, it's this shoot. It's that. Go a little more. Maybe it's out of order. It's in there. Go a little bit more.
Digging through.
Let's see. Yeah, we're definitely in Red Album now.
Here's a cowboy
Back
hats.
to long pants.
It's that shoot. It's Rivers looking in a. There's my ex-wife again. Keep going.
Keep getting scroll past.
Go back up. There's a frame. It's right here, the black and white. There's another angle where he's looking in the mirror, but I remember for this shoot he started out with his hair long. We were in Malibu, and every shot we would trim it.
Oh.
And we in this phase we were gonna do like he went from one thing to like a mullet with a mustache to we cut the mustache off, and so we would change each time, and that was cool because that we could go through these decades of style, right?
Yep.
So this was the 80s. So I think we had just done the cowboy shit, like the cover for the Red Album, and that where he had cowboy hat and all that stuff, and then we went and did this, and we had the one single dangly earring, and we put that in, and then he loves direction. So I was up close to his ear, and he's looking in the mirror, and I'm like, "You're a bad motherfucker. You're the baddest motherfucker in the club, and you're a fucking coke dealer, and you're gonna go fuck somebody up that owes you whatever." I don't remember I was saying something like that. Like I was, you could just see his eyes are like squint, and I'm like, I got him. He's in, and then he's looking at himself, and now he's that guy, and that's the genius about him. And then you go to the boxing ring, and he's goddamn Rocky Balboa. Like he believes he's that person in that moment. So, you know what I mean? Like he's just so good. It didn't matter what, and he would never say no to shit. He would just do it. And then he would say to me a couple of times, which made me feel really good. I'd be running out of ideas. There's one shoot where they're in the green car, and they're all in a car, and it's in a studio, and the lighting is streaked. I think it's before this shit. It's like way in the it's one of the first shoots, but let's see. Before that,
that was a car.
It's that shoot. It's that shoot. So
there
it is.
Okay. So we're in the studio, and we did the soccer shit. Was even last minute. I remember my brother's a soccer player, and he lives in the Valley of Los Angeles, and I called him, and he helped me get a bunch of soccer. I said, "Dude, can you get me some soccer outfits?" And so he helped me pull those together, and then we went to this Hispanic neighborhood and shot on a Sunday where I knew they were playing soccer, and we could kind of do this thing. So it was kind of, we had a couple ideas, but then I was running out of ideas because I shoot fast. And my assistant Yvonne had this Mustang, and we brought that in, and I created this shot. The reference for this was the movie Repo Man with Emilio Estevez. And that's one of my favorite movies. So I was thinking of that, and we pulled that in the studio, and then I was completely out of shit to do, and it was like 4:00, and I had some more time with them. And I said to Rivers, which I'll never say again, but I was like, "Do you guys have any ideas?" and like that's like the kiss. Like you don't want to come to a shoot. If someone says, "Hey man, I want to shoot you," and you come, and they're like, "Tell me what the ideas are." It's like, motherfucker, you're the photographer. Like you tell me what to do. So Rivers is like, dude, he's like, man, you're the artist. You direct us. Whatever you want to do, we'll do. And so I was like, fuck yeah, that's cool. And then we did the shot just below this one, I think is the multiple exposure. I really love this shot, and it was really fucking hard to do because it was on a black background, and I had like an old medium format film camera, and it was in the dark. So everything was in pure darkness, and each person had to be shot separate. And I had to remember where each person was before you put the next person in, because they were all shot individually, and they had to fill this frame. So there's very few frames where the composition of them works well. So
for For
So
any
that was
audio listeners, yeah, it's the four of the members like laying down. It kind of looks like, or it's just the four of their heads, and they're all in the shot. But it almost takes a second when you look at it to realize that they're clearly not all in that shot together.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
Brian's or Pat's head's bigger than everyone else. Like, but yeah. Do you have like the outtakes of those too? Did any of those make the book? Of
Yeah.
like when they overlaid?
So I put I did do a lot of pages with strips of, so you can see
Oh, that's awesome.
the actually the front of the, let's see.
Like the process.
I'm really bummed I don't have the book.
That's
such
all
a
right.
bummer.
We're excited for October.
Yeah, so I have strips and shit in there with like circled selects and all the things, but that was the shot that I did after that comment from him, and I was like, okay, I need to pull out some art school magic, you know.
Yep.
And my assistant, his name is Travis Shin, and if you look him up, he's a badass motherfucker, and he shoots music to this day. Like he shoots everyone, and he shoots every single day, and he's still shooting everybody every day. And so he's evolved into he's like a superstar music photographer. But he's like, yeah, let's just do multiple exposure and we'll figure it out. I think he probably was like putting a piece of tape or something, a mark on the back of you could see in the screen, and he probably put like something so I could get a general idea. But I mean, if you think of in terms of today, you could just shoot that bullshit digitally and move it around, and that's why I leave the black line around the picture. That tells you that that's a full frame negative that has not been cropped or touched.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's
that's a proof that that's like what was in camera is exactly what was in camera, and that's a signature that Richard Avedon used to use. So if you look at his work, he always would leave the black film lines around, so you know that was as it was shot.
That's
not
awesome.
cropped or anything.
Yeah, I mean, there's something about film. Yeah. Film's fucking cool.
So.
Right.
Kind of.
Cool,
I think we're getting
the shit was fucking hard.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to overlay. I think we're getting to the end of it here, Sean. One fluff question here. You said you didn't want to do another book. This is a process. But if you could, no licensing problems at all, who else would you want to do a book with? Or maybe not even another band, but maybe a type of work you've done, or like you said, you've already done some outdoors book and a hot rod book. Is there anything else you'd like to do book wise? Again, either a band or just another concept you haven't seen come to a book yet.
Yeah, I'd like to do a book of I'd like to do a book of the whole ride that I've had since the late 80s to now, and all the stories of, because I mean, back in the day, anyone that knows me, I've had like 50 lives, and came up in like San Francisco and Boston and LA, and ran around all the gay clubs and doing ecstasy and meth and running around like a freak, and the club kids and all the shit, and that was my inspiration in the beginning days, and it was wild, and every shoot had a wild story attached to it, and I think it'd be cool to do a book of, if ever
almost
anyone's around me, they're like, you need to write a fucking book. But I'm like, well, nobody knows me like outside of some circle. So how the fuck am I going to sell a book about my life? But I think I'm fascinated by the analog world of the 90s and the 80s and before my generation. And so anytime I get a chance to look back, I'm fascinated by it, because nowadays it's still cool and I love progress, but that shit was a time where you couldn't really mess with it. It was like you had to be there. It had to be as you saw it. You couldn't fudge it, and it was real. And so when you had a relationship with a band now, could that happen? I guess maybe, but like a relationship like I've had with these guys, and yeah, the only other person I've shot longer than these guys would be Maynard from Tool, who I've worked with many times, but not even close to as much as I've shot these guys. So he's super interesting, and anytime I get to mess with him is a gift, because he's another guy that's just insanely talented and an artist. So
Man, I mean,
I don't
those
know
Tool
that.
fans are as ravenous as Weezer fans.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
all.
one of those Tool and Weezer fans, so I'm
That's a
part of
weird
both the crazy.
that's a weird combo, dude. Like I
A little bit.
Even Maynard doesn't like Tool fans. If
Yeah.
I remember being at a Perfect Circle shoot, doing an album cover for a Perfect Circle, and going to the guys in the band. Josh Freeze, the drummer, was like,
Oh, we love
said
Josh.
some, said something to the effect of, uh, that that's for said, they're talking about Tool fans and like they were scumbags or just freaks. It's like it's
Yep.
just weird. Even I if you put a gun to my head, I probably shouldn't say this on on this podcast. But if you put a
I
gun
thought
to
it.
my head and if you said, "Hey, Sean, you have to name 10 Weezer songs," I don't think I could do it. I love Weezer. I'm dead serious.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of them, but most of their career, like I'm not listening to albums of Weezer. My genre was more. Uh, I love PJ Harvey and goth music
Oh, nice. Yeah.
and hard shit and LCD sound system and techno and shit like that. So Weezer was kind of like a little bit outside of my genre of
Yep.
what I would listen to, but I enjoyed it when I heard it on the radio. I'm cool with it. But I'm not listening to it on my own all day. I just didn't know their shit. Now, when Van Weezer came out, when I worked at that album cover, I was like, I'm gonna fucking listen to this because it's cool. Like I love the inspiration. I'm a Van Halen fanatic, and this is cool.
Yep.
And I listened to it, I was like, God damn, this is badass. You know what I mean? Like this is really
Yeah.
good. And then I went back and I started listening to their shit. I was like, what the fuck, man? This is fucking awesome. But I
Yeah.
still don't know. But I think even Tool or even a band that I really love, I probably can't name that many of their songs. I just know I listen to their shit, but I'm not that kind of fan. So
Yep.
I think I know Weezer more like as Weezer as people and as artists collaborating on photos and those sort of things. But yeah, it's an interesting dynamic with them. So
Yeah, I mean, they're a weird band. Like, they get a lot of shit for being like hacky or putting out bad albums, but like you find me one other rock band that kept up like putting out material this like
Yeah, that has 19 albums that like one of them or two of them might be, slightly less than standard. But it's always kind of felt like Weezer's been almost held to a higher standard than some other rock bands in that regard, where like there's so many people that would be like, oh yeah, they were the best band ever and then the worst band ever, instead of just they made an album that you didn't like.
Right. Well,
it's insane. Like even the best bands that my favorite bands, it's like most of their shits are duds. It's like
exactly. Like you mentioned Van Halen. It's like you ask somebody, do you like Van Halen? They're like, hell yeah, I'd love those 4 albums that I listened to. Oh, you didn't listen to the other 10 releases? No, I did not.
Exactly.
And for some reason, Weezer gets shit.
And fuck, man, I went to Ireland and was at this arena that looked like a goddamn. It was the biggest thing I'd ever seen, and there was standing. I mean, there was not an unfilled seat. And then my wife was in my wife now my third wife. She was at the Weezer show in Nashville with her mom. I gave her passes, and they went to Weezer, and she called me. She's like, "Fuck, man, we're in an arena in Nashville, and it's sold out. Like."
Yep.
We're all in our mid-50s. Like, the fuck? Like, they've been doing this shit for a long time. They're not slowing down. It's crazy.
No, and the cool thing is going to those shows is seeing like kids there too.
Little kids everywhere. And it's like
kids,
God,
teenagers, like
wild. Yeah. And then Carl will do these tours, these VIP tours before the show. And I went on one in Ireland because I've only been to maybe a handful of Weezer shows, and most of them have been recently. But Carl and I were hanging out, and he's like, "You want to go check out the VIP show?" I go, "Yeah, that'd be fucking cool." And I did like this poster board thing for the tour where they put a bunch of my shit, and it was next to Spike Jonze's shit. I was like, it was so fucking cool. But
Nice.
the fans that would win these pay for these VIP tours, most of them are like little kids or like people y'all's age or beyond my age, and they're all fascinated by Carl talking about a fucking guitar and the
Yep.
history of it. And I was like,
Yeah,
that's so bizarre to me, but it's so
it
great,
is.
man. And it couldn't happen to nicer people, and they are just such fucking cool guys and artists and no ego. I want to say that too, because like they collaborate with everybody and they give credit, and they're not trying to take all the credit, and they love to do things with other people, and I just love that. They're just a good vibe, and they make me a better person hanging around them. So yeah.
Damn.
Hell yeah.
That's really good to hear.
Well, we are slightly over time. We don't want to keep you too long, so we just, last thing, the book is coming out November 18th, correct? Anything else the
Wait,
fans should know?
October?
I thought it was November 18th.
No, they just
November 18th. You're right.
they just pushed it a little bit because it's probably my fault, and I apologize to the fans. Well, they sent me
we forgive you.
samples, and I felt like the pages weren't the right finish. So
Shit, maybe
I was
it was October.
It
All
was October 14th, and I was like, no, the pages must be thicker and they can't be glossy. So they're like, okay, motherfucker, that's going to be more money.
It's gonna take some extra time.
Another month. And I was like, So I apologize to all the fans, but I care about you, and I'm paying more money to make it better so you get your
That's
money's worth.
awesome.
And I hope everybody enjoys it. I'm sure you will.
Yeah, we can't wait. I got mine pre-ordered, I think, the day they went live. Anybody that's listening, if you haven't pre-ordered it yet, go ahead and do that, because November 18th, my friend Weezer, a time capsule of one of rock's most iconic bands, is going to be coming out, and I cannot wait. Sean, it's been so great talking to you. This has been awesome. Thank you again so much for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. Anytime if you need anything, let me know, and I will help you the best I can.
That would be amazing. Well, I mean, we just got one last question, because it is how we end the show every week.
Yep.
Sean Murphy, are you a Weezer fan?
I am.
We'll see you guys next time.
I'm a huge Weezer fan. See you, man.
Bill, where can people find us?
You can check us out on Twitter or X at AYAWF Pod, or just search Are You a Weezer Fan? And we are on TikTok and Instagram at Are You a Weezer Fan?
All right. And don't forget, you can also find us on Patreon. That link is going to be in the description if you want to support us and get some fun bonus content where we listen to pretty much exclusively non-Weezer music. We still talk about Weezer, though. It happens. We'll see you next time.